Everybody knows that people aren't perfect. In fact, we can agree very quickly on this truth until the imperfections of other people affect us. One of the most painful life lessons for me to get over was the shortcomings of my parents. This is Teen Devotion number 3, and the title of it is Parents Aren't Perfect. Hello everyone, Rick Thomas here. We're helping people live effective lives. We're home from the beach now, and so we're in the studio doing these videos. It's a little bit easier than on location. What I wanted from my parents collided with who they were as fallen individuals. I wanted them to be righteous. I wanted them to be good people. But yet they were fallen people. They were imperfect people. The irony is they were just like me. But yet I wanted them to be different. I did not understand that my parents would not change just because I wanted them to. You may have that desire about your parents. Maybe there are a few things that you would love that they would change, but just because you want it doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Now, of course, my parents also did not have any mentors in their life. Every Timothy needs a Paul in his life or a Timothea in her life to help them along. Well, my parents didn't have a mentor to help them along, and so they were stuck, and I didn't like how they were, and my response to my parents was sinful frustration. Now, here's more irony. I actually expected them to be good people when I was not a good person. I was not focused on the log that was in my eye. In fact, I spent all of my time speck fishing as I judged them without assessing myself at all. The truth is, I should have pitied my parents rather than giving them my sinful anger. But self-absorbed, entitled, demanding individuals, rarely do they have compassion toward others. It wasn't until I was in my 20s God regenerated me as a 25-year-old, and after that happened, I began to slow down long enough to actually think about what was going on in my teen years and why I was so angry with my parents. In fact, I want to give you 4 reasons that I was angry, and what I don't want you to hear in this list of reasons that they are excuses, because they are not. But I just wanted to think about why I was angry, and here are the 4 things that came to mind. Now, if you are frustrated with your parents, it would do you well to think about why you are this way. Maybe you can change as the Lord helped me to change where I wasn't frustrated with my parents. And so here are the 4 reasons why, not excuses, but 4 reasons why I was frustrated with them. Number 1, life was happening too fast for an angry, immature teenager to process. There were 7 people living in a home, 2 parents and 5 boys. And the truth is, all that was going on in our family, it was just too much for me to handle. And of course, that heat that was coming into my life, all the events in our lives, that brought out the anger that was already resident in me. The circumstances in your life will reveal what is in your heart, and all the events that were happening in my life was bringing out the pre-existing anger that was in my heart. Number 2, my parents were faithful to their Adamic natures. My parents were not Christians. They could not change. The truth is, they were being consistent with who they were. I was asking them to be something that they could not be. Number 3, not only the events in my life were too many and too often, but the noise inside of my head was too loud for me to think clearly. You could think of my mind like a busy intersection where too much was colliding and going on. Just like the events in my life were drawing out anger, all this combustion inside of my mind with all the noise that was happening, well, that caused the anger to come out as well. And then number 4, let me be honest, my goal was not about changing anyway. All I wanted to do was to leave home. I was biding my time until I could leave. Rather than trying to change, I wanted to escape. And I see that pattern in so many lives. And if you are one who practices escaping from your trouble, if you do it too many times, it will become a pattern in your life and you won't escape your problems. You see, leaving home did not leave my problems behind. You always take your problems with you wherever you go because your problems are in your heart, not external in your life. Oh, you can change the venue, you can change the people, the players on the table, but the problems will reiterate with another group of people and in another venue somewhere where in your future, wherever you may go. A friend told me one time that he said, Rick, your attitude will affect your altitude. Now what he said was very bumper stickerish and it was very cliche-y, but he was right. My attitude will affect my altitude. And so rather than wallowing in my frustration and the anger that was coming out of me because of the external situation in my life, I needed to change internally regardless of what happens in my external life. It was my attitude, it was my heart that needed transformation, honestly more than my parents did. And so what he said was very true. Your attitude will affect your altitude. If you keep looking outward as though your problems are because of others, you will incarcerate yourself to a life of bitterness. And so don't play that victim card. This is Team Devotion number 3. The title of it is Your Parents Aren't Perfect. I want to leave you with 2 questions to think about. Number 1, are you asking your parents to be something that you refuse to be? For example, you want your parents to be kind? Are you being kind? Do you want your parents to be generous? Are you being generous? Do you want your parents to be servants? Are you serving? Do you want your parents to be fill in the blank? Whatever that is, the question is, are you being that yourself? It's hypocritical to ask people to be something that you are not yourself. And so you first become the thing that you want others to be. That's number 1. Are you asking your parents to be something that you refuse to be? And then number 2, how is your example presenting Christ to your parents? I don't want you to disqualify yourself by saying, I'm just a teenager and my parents are the adults in the room and they should be the example. Yeah, they should be the example in all the ways that I'm sure you desire that they would be. But sometimes parents aren't the right example for you, but that doesn't prohibit you from being the right example. And so don't disqualify yourself as though you're too young. You be Christ-like. Who knows? Maybe Christ would use you as a primary influence in your parents' life. And so you be that example where you are amplifying God, you're spreading the fame of Jesus, you're being Jesus to your parents and to your community, rather than thinking that, maybe they need to be that to me. Perhaps God would change them through your Christ-like example. This is Teen Devotion number 3, Your Parents Aren't Perfect. If you want to talk about this devotion, we have a free community forum. It is provided to you, is provided for you by those who generously support this ministry. And so I want you to jump on that community forum and you ask us the question that you have. Maybe it's about this video, perhaps it's about something else. But our desire is to serve you. So you let us know how by jumping on our free community forum at rickthomas.net. Also, if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel, that would be fantastic. It will help us to reach more people organically. Teen Devotion number 3, Your Parents Aren't Perfect. Thank you so much for watching.